Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope it's fantastic. Everything here is good. Today we are talking about the Bad Weather Friend from Dean Koontz. I believe, not with any real conviction, but I believe this is my first Dean Koontz novel. I don't know that that's 100% true, but I feel like it is. I had a friend growing up who his dad was a huge Koontz fan, and he showed us The Watcher, and so it's possible. And I liked that movie a lot. So it's possible that I read that book when I was like a teenager, but if I did, I have no memory of it. I was a contrarian, so Koontz and King growing up were just like every. It was the people who read King talked about how amazing he was, and the people who read Koontz talked about how he was so much better than King, and so I just avoided both of them. Like, this is junk. I don't want to read it. So I've just never bothered to read Koontz. But been interested lately, thought I'd give it a shot. Saw some reviews. This is his latest book. This came out just this past January. Saw some reviews saying that Koontz, like a lot of Koontz fans felt that the last 20 years he was just rating kind of but his most recent books have been much better. And so I was like, well, I'll give it a shot and we'll see what happens. And I'll tell you right off the bat, this book, Bad Weather Friend, this book, right here, I give it 5 stars. This is the first 5-star read I've had since February. I don't think I had any 5-star reads in March. And I give this 5 stars because I don't know what this book is. This book is freaking bizarre in so many interesting ways. And if you could tell me right now, if anybody is a Koontz fan and has read this book, could tell me that he has more books like this, like what I'm about to say about this, not necessarily this, whatever. Let me know, because I'd love to read them. This book is goofy as hell. It is a campy, wild, fantastical romp. It has everything wrong with it that you could think of. It's just weird, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I really enjoyed reading it. Without too many spoilers, there's probably a little... Bad Weather Friend is about a guy who's down on his luck. Everything starts to go wrong, and he inherits something that helps him kind of achieve justice. The actual story that's going on in the book is not long enough for a novel. It's just like introduction to the inheritance, a couple of stops along this journey, and then a resolution. And so the story is padded out with a whole backstory that's, every other chapter. So it's not strictly every other chapter, but pretty much you're jumping between these two timelines. So you're jumping between the main character's past and the main character's present. And ultimately, this probably is a spoiler, but whatever, in the grand scheme of things, the character's past has absolutely nothing to do with the current storyline. Like, there's nothing. There's no part of it that has anything to do with the main storyline. It's just an interesting story about this character's past. That's number one. It's weird, and it's whatever. I would say that the side story or the backstory, the thing that it does is give the main character... make the main character's response to his inheritance somewhat believable, because this inheritance is so unbelievable that you would expect there to be a lot more like, what the hell is going on? This isn't normal. There'd be a whole lot more pushback from the main character. But instead, he receives the inheritance, is just like, okay, let's do it. And then and so the backstory maybe gives you a little bit of a hint, and we'll talk about that when I get into spoilers. But whatever. The other interesting thing is the author, Dean Koontz himself, talks to you throughout this book in parentheticals at the end of some of the paragraphs. You could argue that it's the narrator, not necessarily Koontz, but come on. Like, it's just the author telling you, this is foreshadowing, and this is whatever. Like, he just gives you these goofy little asides that are like, what? And then to wrap all that up, the story's absurd, the premise is absurd, the characters are completely absurd. The dialogue in this book is like the weirdest Tarantino movie you've ever seen. Just characters just say but what? What? Who talks like? Nobody talks like this. And then on the little cherry on top of all that is the author is intentionally flexing his vocabulary in this book. And so had I not read this on the Kindle, I would have needed a dictionary with me. There was quite a few bizarre words, but I loved it. It was just, it fit, right? It helped me feel like there was more going on to this book than there was, because there's really not a lot going on. Okay, that's all I can say without spoilers. So the rest of this is full of spoilers. If you haven't read it yet, or if you're interested because of what I just said, go away. Because though I don't think I could spoil this book, I think you need to just approach it with an open heart. All right. So, the Craggle is this thing, is this being that our main character inherits. The Craggle is a being that helps nice people fight back against those who would do them harm. So the whole premise of this book is that our main character is too nice. He's the nicest guy ever. He's just so nice. He just, okay, that's great. Let's, whatever. And there's this secret agency, this whatever dark, shadowy force that is trying to put him down, because if he becomes nice and wise, then it's super dangerous, because this secret agency is trying to, the New World Order basically is trying to set the world up in their image and do things their way, but nice and wise can undermine all of that. And so they have built a computer algorithm that can find these nice people, and then they can beat them down. For whatever reason, they don't just eliminate these. You find out through the course of this book that it's essentially like this ring of extremely wealthy, billionaire type people that are trying to run the world, and who are effectively immune to prosecution or persecution. Why they don't just kill the people on the list instead of just having them lose their jobs and lose their fiancés and whatever, who knows? It doesn't matter. Again, part of the charm of this book is the absurdity of this book. So our main character inherits this Craggle. He's a 7-foot tall, male-looking creature that appears humanish, but can change his form, can change his clothes, can change his appearance. Has no reproductive organs, doesn't need to defecate or urinate. He's like kind of a perfect being that it becomes our main character's guardian, becomes our main character's best friend, destiny buddies as he calls them, and helps him fight back against these people that have set out to ruin his life, that have cost him his job and cost him his fiancée. And that's it. That's the book. They go on a jaunt. They stop at a few places along the way. They start at the base rung and find out who ordered his boss to fire him. They go to that guy, find out who ordered him to whatever. They go to that person, find out who's in, whatever. They intimidate people. The Craggle does some body horror type stuff, pulling eyeballs out, pulling his heart out of his chest. There's a little bit of gore and horror, but ultimately it's campy as can be. And so again, the absurdity of the book is balanced by this backstory. So our main character inherits this Craggle and just accepts it. This is just another thing. And you could say part of that is his niceness. He's so damn nice that he just accepts that supernatural beings exist. But when he was a kid, he was sent to this Briar Bush Academy by his ultra-wealthy stepfather, and there he saw human insect hybrids and learned that the headmistress was bitten by a venomous alien that had instilled her with all of the knowledge of its species. And so there at least is some grounds for this character to have a belief in the supernatural, and that's the point I was getting at earlier. The only reason for this backstory that I can find is to set up this character to be able to just accept this Craggle into his life without having paragraphs or chapters of just I need to figure out what's going on. There's none of that. The Craggle introduces himself. A couple paragraphs later, let's go on an adventure together. It's not a big deal. Like, okay, let's just do it. It's weird, dude. It's so weird. The writing is fantastic. Like I said, I feel like Dean's writing style is very casual, but he also flexed his vocabulary hard in this book. So there's these very casual sentences with just this bam, here's a $10 word you've never heard of before in your life. Just tons of that. And it's just a wild ride. It's just bizarre, interesting. There's a whole lot of poignancy in this book. There's a whole lot of, I think there's a, it's not that I think, there are big messages in this book that are disguised as this campy little adventure. It's totally cool. I really enjoyed it. So again, if you can point me to other campy, goofy, whatever the hell this is style that Koontz has written, I would love to read more of it. I'm not really interested in dogs and whatever else he's written about, like the weird stuff. But I mean, not the weird stuff, but the kind of casual stuff. But this goofy weirdness, if he's written more of this, point me in that direction, because I had a blast with this book. The Bad Weather Friend from Dean Koontz. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if you have recommendations. Put them in the comments. Call me, text me, whatever. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know sounds smart is vainglorious. It's an adjective meaning conceited, boastful, prone to showing off and bragging. Although the scion of a well-established family, Gordon is so vainglorious that you'd think him a parvenu. Vainglorious. Vainglorious. Did we have parvenu? Was that a... I gotta look this up, because I don't think we learned that word. No. We didn't learn that word. Why didn't you teach us parvenu?